Hello, Moonwalkers, and welcome to another episode of Moonwalk Talks.
All your energy into your finger. Throw it out like fire.
Welcome to Moonwalk Talks, the Michael Jackson podcast that searches out the facts, stories, and theories about the king of pop, Michael Jackson. Please follow at Moonwalk Talks on Twitter and Instagram, and please don't forget to rate and review Moonwalk Talks on iTunes or your favorite podcast app. And to all those watching on YouTube, please smack that subscribe button upside its head and give this a like. I totally appreciate it. I am your host, Jenkins, the host that is tired of explaining to people why I refuse to play R. Kelly when I DJ, but I still play Michael Jackson. It's because R. Kelly is actually guilty and Michael Jackson is innocent. 100% innocent. R. Kelly actually preyed on little kids. He has admitted it and has continued to do it over and over throughout the years. So no, I won't play Step in the Name of Love. R. Kelly is a sick, perverted, old rapist. Okay. Allegedly. So yeah, let's get right into the episode. This episode of Moonwalk Talks is my full interview with the fantastic Kip Lennon. So you could say it's more of a bonus episode or more like an extension of the last episode, the Michael Jackson Simpsons Mystery that just came out. So if you haven't listened to that episode, go listen to it before you listen to this. Kip Lennon was such a treat to get the chance to chat with. He was so friendly and he was a huge help in the construction of the last episode. I had reached out to him online with a couple of just simple questions about his work on the Flintstone Kids special, and I was thinking he would just reply back with some simple answers. But to my amazement, he offered to chat on the phone, and we ended up talking about his entire experience. We also ended up chatting about all kinds of random Michael Jackson related topics that I didn't quite get to include in the Simpsons episode. Like his work on Jackson's The American Dream, or when he had to cover for his friend that was hired as a background singer on This Is It before Michael passed. A bunch of other really neat stories. And I just have to note that when he revealed in our conversation that he was the voice of Michael Raisin from the California Raisins commercial, this was actually the first time it had been documented. So these two episodes are actually really special to Moonwalk Talks because normally I'm just compiling the facts from different articles and books and stories and, stuff like that most of the stuff's already been told. But this is the first time in Moonwalk Talks history that we are actually part of the Michael Jackson story. So with that being said, another huge thanks to Kip Lennon for everything. And here is the full interview with Kip Lennon.
Hello?
Hello? Is this Mr. Lennon?
Yes.
So this is Jenkins with the Michael Jackson podcast.
Oh, yeah. How are you? I'm sorry. I didn't recognize the number, and I'm driving, and I couldn't see who was calling.
Oh.
Yeah,
would you like me to call you back another time?
No, as long as you can hear me, it's actually perfect timing, because I'm just stuck in traffic driving, so it's perfect timing.
Oh, good old LA traffic, eh?
Yeah. How are you?
So I'm good. How are you doing?
Okay, good. You can hear me? You can hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you great.
Great. Okay, cool.
All right. So so the reason why I was calling is because I'm doing an episode all about Michael Jackson and the Simpsons, and of course I'm going down the rabbit hole and trying to figure out, because there's still a lot of mystery compared to why he didn't do the singing, why he wasn't credited, because some say it's a contract, others say it was because of because he wanted to play a joke on his brothers. And so I started looking around, and of course I see other situations where the exact same thing happened. Like as on the Simpsons story, he maybe did the spoken parts, but he didn't do the singing like within the well, he didn't do anything at all for the Flintstones kids, but I saw that you did. And so I was very curious about it because I couldn't find anything about it on the internet aside from just credits.
Well, it's funny because when I got originally the reason, well, it's a it all sort of it's a long story, but I sort of grew up doing imitations my whole life. Not like I'm going to grow up and be one of those impersonator people, but it was just fun. I come from a huge family, and everybody's really funny, and everybody's really musical. So it was just a natural extension to, every one of my brothers and sisters can imitate somebody, And I used to imitate lots of people. It wasn't like I was this guy who wanted everyone to think I was a Michael Jackson impersonator, really. I didn't even know I could do it until I started doing a lot of sound-alikes in the early 80s. There were TV shows like Magnum P.I. and I don't know. There was just so many shows, and they used to hire people like me to imitate the songs that were in the top 40 at the time, that were classic rock songs or that were on the radio, and they would put them on the jukebox in the background of a bar scene or in the car radio while they're having a scene in the car. It was kind of a trend back then. So I was on about 9 or 10 primetime shows a season. Just doing all this kind of sound-like stuff. And Michael Jackson was one of the things I used to do, just for fun. I would do, a minute or so of a different Michael Jackson song. But I also did lots of other people, Billy Joel and Mick Jagger and Sting and, whoever was on the radio at the time. So when I was working for The Simpsons, I had already done a few things for them when they called and said that Michael Jackson was recommending me. And it was as funny to them as it was to me because they already knew me. We were all friends. I'd already worked on the show. And suddenly they said, Michael Jackson says he wants you to do him on for this episode of The Simpsons. And the truth is, I'm not sure exactly how it all happened, but I think that the Flintstones thing happened first. Is that correct?
Yeah, the Flintstones was in 1988, and then the Simpsons episode was in 1990. Yeah.
So I was doing these sound-alikes, and there was a DJ in L.A. named Rick Dees, and we got hired to do a whole package for him of promo stuff. So we would imitate whatever was on the radio at the time and do, a little bit of a famous song. So I did "The Way You Make Me Feel," but it was, Rick Dees or whatever, that kind of thing. And I did Michael Jackson, and he heard it, and so then his people reached out to me for the Flintstones thing. I think it was the Flintstones thing. Maybe it was heard it through the grapevine, the California Raisins thing. I also did the voice on that one.
You did that one as well?
Yeah.
That is amazing. Like I've been researching that for like the last week, and I've tried to get hold of Will Vinson to no avail. And because I knew for a fact that it wasn't Michael Jackson, but I had no clue. But I was like, oh man, I was going to ask you that if that was you. That is amazing.
Yeah, and that was really trippy too. So I'm not sure whether that was before or after the Flintstones. I think it's after Flintstones, but
yeah, it was after.
Okay, and what's funny about that gig was that their camera crew was there filming my mouth because they have to animate to a mouth. They have to see an actual human mouth in order to make the clay work right and all that. And so what's funny is they've got all the Michael Jackson's everything else on there, all his costumes and his outfits and everything. But when I'm doing the singing as the raisin, it's my mouth that's on this little raisin.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to have to contact these people and make sure you get credit for this because it's like I couldn't find it on like the IMDb or anything. So yeah, we'll have to fix that. But that's so awesome. That's so cool to hear.
For me, I'm a session singer. I'm a gun for hire, and so getting credit for that kind of stuff. I know I did it. My kids know. My family knows. I don't. That stuff doesn't really matter that much. Getting the credit as much as it is. It's a lot of fun to do these kinds of things. One time, I used to sing on a TV show called Solid Gold back in the day, and they always had special guests every week. And Boy George was on doing a duet with Dionne Warwick. And for the life of him, he just couldn't sing this one harmony part. He was a lead vocalist who didn't really understand how harmonies worked. And I was there, and he knew that I could imitate him. And so I ended up singing all the choruses with Dionne Warwick on the pre-record, and nobody ever knew. He went on national television, and he mouthed my vocals when
Wow.
the chorus, and we all had a big laugh, and it's fun, and it's a fun thing.
Wow, that is really awesome.
Yeah. So it was the same goes for the Michael Jackson stuff. I still don't think I sound just like him. I sound like a parody of Michael Jackson, but he got a kick out of that, And I captured enough of his caricatures that it worked perfectly for cartoons and a raisin and that kind of thing. So by the time they called me for the Simpsons, I had already done the raisin commercial and the Flintstones.
That is phenomenal. I do have to say, you do sound very similar to Michael Jackson. To a lot of people who probably don't listen to Michael on an everyday basis would still believe to this day that it was, that it might have actually been Michael on there. Because I was actually listening to the commentary on The Simpsons, and some of them that work for The Simpsons still believe that Michael might have done so.
No, that whole story, I don't know if you've seen it anywhere else.
I've researched it up and down.
Yeah, it really was really trippy because I still hadn't met him. I'd already done all these projects for him, but I hadn't met him. And, normally when I work on The Simpsons, it's all post-production. But this is pre-production. So that means, I had never met the cast. I'd worked on the show for a couple of years by then, and I'd never met anybody on the show, Musicians tend to just do everything post-animation. So, so to go to a table read like that and have the whole cast there and have Jim Brooks there, the director, directing the episode, and Matt Groening and everybody, I was just as excited to meet all of them as I was to meet Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson was always like an idol of mine when I was a kid because he's a couple years older than me. He's probably about 4 years older than me, something like that. And literally the first few times I was ever even singing out loud by myself in my house at the top of my lungs, it was always doing Never Can Say Goodbye and stuff like that because we had the same range, and I really, really admired him when he was, in the Jackson 5. So I was excited to meet him, and of course, everybody knew the Thriller album, and I actually prefer the Off the Wall album to all of his other albums. I just think it's amazing. But so I was excited to meet him, but I didn't know what was going to happen. Nobody was allowed to have any cameras there, no filming, no autographs, nothing like that. And by the time he arrived, we were all sitting at the table ready to go, and I still hadn't met him. And then Jim Brooks said, "Okay, everybody, let's start." And Michael comes in, and he didn't have an entourage, just him by himself with a glove and a hat, and it was literally like Thomas Jefferson walking into the room or Mickey Mouse or something. It was just it was so iconic that because he was right at the peak of his Michael Jackson-ness. It's not like meeting some classic rock artist who used to be, whoever.
Yeah.
This is him at his absolute peak of popularity. So it was very iconic and sort of. It was really strange. It was a heightened reality for a little while there. So he sits down across from me, and we start doing the run through, and it's it's a really funny script and whatever. And it gets to the point. I think the first time I sing is when he says, to Homer in prison, he says, if you don't think I'm Michael Jackson, well, listen to this, And then I have to do. I think it was Billie Jean. I think it was Billie Jean. Yeah, and I literally. It's one thing to be in the studio with effects on your voice and music and all that, but to just a cappella imitate somebody who's sitting across from you in a room full of strangers, I've never even met the cast, and literally everybody turns. You could hear everyone shifting in their seats, turning and looking at this dude like, okay, let's see what you got, It was really strange. Luckily I was a veteran by then of a million sessions, and so this was just one session of a million, So it wasn't like I was thinking, oh my God, my whole career depends on this. And I knew I could do enough of an imitation that it would get a laugh, It's more about it being funny. It's like drawing a cartoon of someone. You want to capture the extremities, so that people, get the flavor of that person, So I started singing, and I sang whatever it was, and everybody burst into applause, everybody's laughing, and he's smiling, and I still hadn't even shaken his hand. It was the weirdest thing, and he's sitting right across the table from me. So then we do the whole thing, and then by then I did Ben, and we didn't do Happy Birthday Lisa because he had just gotten me the tape of that, which is also weird to get a cassette from Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
Song that, you know, that nobody's going to hear except me. And now it's on the internet, you know, but at the time, I wasn't supposed to play it for anyone. It was just so I could learn the song he wrote, you know, have you released. And so then we took a break, and that was really strange too, because everybody was buzzing and stuff, but they're really giving him his space, because, you know, everybody knew it would be uncomfortable if they're all flocking around him, and everyone's just being professional. So we're taking a break before the actual recording, and people are eating bagels and playing ping pong, and, you know, and he's just standing in the corner, almost like, you know, he's so painfully shy that it almost seemed like nobody could be that shy. But I went over and I introduced myself finally, and, you know, he knows one of my sisters, and he knows my brother-in-law, and I knew everybody in his band, all of his singers and stuff. And I'd already done him on so many projects, but I figured he'd kind of be comfortable. So kind of small talked a little bit. And he was very warm. He was very nice. You'd never say he was a jerk. It seemed like that's almost like his safety system is to just sort of wall up around himself, you know, and isolate himself a little bit, you know, which was a shame because he was around a bunch of people that were giving him a lot of space, you know. Yeah. And so then we started the actual show recording, and he and I were right next to each other in one booth. There's all the different characters. And it was really interesting to watch him. He was getting a kick out of doing his dialogue and then getting big laughs in the room and everything. And then I did Ben, and I did, you know, Billie Jean and all that stuff. And but he was so shy and so quiet that by the time we were getting to the end of it, like James Brooks was saying things to me like, okay, we need Michael to do like a little whoop or a little something. Do you think you could, Kip, what would Michael do? So he's asking me what would Michael do, and Michael's standing right next to me. And it was so strange, so then I did a hee-hee or whatever I did, I don't know. And everybody laughed and cheers. And then, so help me, Michael actually said, yeah, that's what I would do. It was so strange. The whole thing was very strange. And then he was suddenly, you know, saying goodbye, and he was gone. And the truth is, I don't even know. I mean, 25 years later, we did the Hollywood Bowl, 3 nights at the Hollywood Bowl to celebrate the 25th anniversary of Simpsons. And so I went, and I did Happy Birthday, Lisa, and I don't know, maybe you've seen those videos. And even the cast and the producers and the writers, and now the people that are working there now that weren't even born when we did that show, nobody really knows the reason. I never knew the real reason why he didn't sing. You know, there's so many theories, like you mentioned. You know, he was definitely an artist, so he didn't want to release anything with his voice on it that hadn't been, you know, combed over a million times and worked on and overdubbed and fixed. And, you know, it took him a long time to release things because he wanted them to be right. So I would think as a recording artist, he wouldn't want to release anything that's just done on the fly like that. So, you know, with his reputation on the line. So that's part of it.
Good reason.
Yeah, and, you know, some people said it was contractual, and that's why his name wasn't on the credits. And some people said that he just thought the whole thing was funny, so he wanted to be cloak and dagger about it all. So we never, ever did find out the real reason. But it was really funny to do the 25th anniversary thing because there were so many young people that had been working on The Simpsons by then that they sort of considered that time the golden age, you know. Yeah. And everybody wanted to know the story I just told you, because they weren't there. There's no recording of it. There's no photos. There's nothing. And it was really trippy. And it was trippy to walk out on stage at the Hollywood Bowl and have Yardley introduce the scene and then have Nancy and I walk out. People were so endeared. They loved that song so much, the Happy Birthday, Lisa, that you've got 17,000 people every night going, "Aw," you know, and then you can feel them go, "Huh?" Like, because they see that I'm like this, you know, mid-50s white guy. You know? And so that really gets this funny reaction. And then once I start singing, they're like, "Oh, that's the guy." You know, it's really, it was really a funny situation, but it was also, you can't lose. People love that so much, and you walk out and you're with Bart, and you're doing a duet, and there's teleprompters, and everybody is so happy that it was one of the easiest gigs I ever did.
That's an amazing story, and I really do appreciate you telling me that. Like, I mean, because that song "Happy Birthday, Lisa," even throughout the years has become, such a first off a really big song for the Simpsons. I mean, of course, written by Michael Jackson, it's crazy, you know. And the people to this day still have a deep feel for that song. So, I speaking of other, work that you've done as well. I heard rumor that you also did vocal work for Michael Jackson on the Jackson's American Dream. Was that true?
I did. I sang Never Can Say Goodbye, which was
okay.
Because, like I mentioned before, that was one of the songs I used to sing around the house when I was a kid. You know? But what was funny was I was supposed to, because I think Randy or somebody, I don't know who it was, I think it might have been Randy or Marlon that was producing it. And by then I'd already done The Simpsons, and they knew that I could do, a fair enough version of him. What was funny, though, was I was supposed to conjure up in my head how the Michael Jackson of the 1980s would sing Never Can Say Goodbye, as opposed to the 12-year-old or the 13-year-old that he was when he did it. So that was weird because I had no reference other than, okay, I know the song really well, and I just have to pretend that I'm Michael Jackson from Thriller, era. Never Can Say Goodbye. And it worked out okay, I think I might have heard it recently. It was okay, I did all right.
That is awesome. Yeah, that is so cool to hear.
And it's really, it really broke my heart. Obviously it broke everybody's heart when he passed away. It's kind of ironic because a friend of mine had just gotten that tour as one of the background singers. And it was so quick that he literally reached out to me to fill in for him in some cover band that he was in, like a corporate band that plays big corporate events. And so I had learned all these songs for this guy Ken. And Ken was texting me during the week saying, oh my God, we're rehearsing with Michael, and last night we had the most amazing night. He really did show up, and it was like, wow, this is really going to happen, because up until then we thought he might be a little under the weather, and literally this is the night before he died. Ken was texting me on the way home from rehearsal saying, he killed it tonight. He was like, be Michael Jackson, and this tour is going to be amazing, and thanks so much for covering me on this band and all this stuff. And so then I go to the rehearsal, and I'm rehearsing these cover tunes with this band, a bunch of guys I've never met, and all of our phones go off at the same time. Because, that's world news. Everybody's texting everybody. And it was such a 1-2 punch. Obviously, the biggest punch being that Michael Jackson just died was just like, it seemed impossible. But then it occurred to everyone, secondly, it occurred to everyone that I'm not in this band anymore, and that Ken's coming back, and the whole thing was just so surreal. And it just broke my heart, the tragedy of it all, that you can have everything and have nothing. It's just heartbreaking, that you can be such an amazing talent and give so much to the world, and then be surrounded with doctors who will give you that much crap, and a family that will let you take that much crap, and a huge family of people, but we take care of each other. We don't take advantage of each other and leech on each other the way people did with him. That just breaks my heart. And he was the goose that laid the golden egg. So they fed him whatever he wanted, and they didn't really take care of him.
Yeah, it is very heartbreaking.
And you asked me about, I don't know anything about the Barkman thing. I don't know anything about that. I mean, I sang on it at the Hollywood Bowl, but I don't know how that all came about or anything.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So how was it coming back to Leon Kompowski on the last season?
That was cool. First of all, in the interim, it's nice because I have teenage kids now, and they're 17 and 19 years old, and so they've watched the episode a bunch of times, of course, and read the different magazine articles and stuff, and I have a little, like an action figure of Kompowski and a little sticker and a button, and there's a few things I found on the internet, and the California raisin, Michael Jackson. So, they get a kick out of all that stuff. But this time around, when they called me, it was fun because I'd already been doing a few things for them lately anyway. And it was summer, so my son was in town. My son Roman, who goes to UCSB, was in town. So I got to bring him with me, which is really a cool thing. When you're a dad, are you a dad yet?
Oh, no, not yet. Unless you count animals.
Yeah, I do, actually. I do. But when you're a dad of a human, it's really nice. You can count on only, a few fingers, the times when you can feel really cool in front of your kids, because that's just the nature of things, as you're getting older, their generation is doing things that they think are cool.
Oh, yeah.
I'm super close with my boys, super close, and they're good kids, but, it's really nice, like when I toured with Roger Waters and we did the Wall tour, and I can take them backstage at the Coliseum or at Fenway Park, and, that kind of stuff. That's when it's like, there's these moments that are so beautiful, and so for me to take him to 20th Century Fox and go do, another verse of Happy Birthday Lisa, it was really cool, because even the producers of that session were in their early 30s, I think. So to them, they were so happy to have me there. They were so nice, but like when I did the first take, they were laughing and punching each other and saying, "Yeah, that's it. That's exactly it." And I'm trying to make it like a regular session. Like, guys, let's do a few more takes.
Yeah.
So work me a little bit. Make me work for it. But they were so reverent, because it's all so mythical now in the Simpsons world. That it was really funny to watch them go, "I'm good. You good? I'm good." And I was like, "No."
Yeah.
I finally had to go like, "Let's do about 4 or 5 takes, and then when I leave, you can pick which one you think is the best." And so we're walking in the car, and my son's going, "Dad, that's really good, man. That's really funny that they think it's so cool." It was great. It was really cool. I actually haven't got to see it. I was out of town when it aired, and I never got a video of it, so I haven't actually. Did they show Leon Kapowski?
Oh yeah. I just saw the clip recently, and he comes in the room with Lisa and does it all like sings the song again. I was like, wow, that is super neat.
I gotta look. Is it on YouTube, you think?
I know for sure it's on Hulu. I think the entire episode's on Hulu.
Okay, I'll find it. I just gotta find it. If you could send me a link, that would be great.
Oh, I definitely will. Yeah.
Yeah, because I know that sounds a little pretentious to not have seen it, but they're just.
Oh no.
You do these things months and months in advance, and then all of a sudden it's a random Sunday night, and you just kind of forget.
Yeah. So have you ever thought of doing like a full gig of Michael Jackson songs or anything like that?
No way. In fact, after he passed away, people were doing a lot of tribute tours and things.
Mm-hmm.
People were asking me if I wanted to do that, and I don't claim to be that. I'm not an impersonator that way. To do a whole show where I do all his songs and all. I don't know. I think it's a nice thing to have a small dose of, and it's a great memory, and I wouldn't want to sort of muddy the waters of the memory of me doing that with me also looking like maybe I'm taking advantage of that,
Yeah.
I'm respectful of his legacy to sort of take advantage of that and do a sort of half-assed job. And I mean, even if I did a great job, that's just not my thing. I have my own band, and I do other things, and I tour with other people, and, I just love having that memory of Michael Jackson being this perfect, it was perfect. Everything just worked out perfectly, and everybody was happy with it. And, I think I'm happy with that.
Well, thank you, and we do thank you so much for doing it, because it is one of the neatest stories in the history of Michael Jackson. And it's funny doing the episode. It's like it was just going to be about Michael Jackson's appearance on The Simpsons, and it turned into this whole thing because mostly due to the secrecy about a lot of it. But it ended up being such a neat, interesting story, and I really do appreciate you taking the time to talk to me about it.
Yeah, sure. So they didn't. So I don't have a credit on the Jackson family one?
I haven't checked because getting the actual VHS of it is quite difficult.
Yeah.
So I haven't actually seen the VHS of it. Most of it, most of the time you can see it online. But I don't think they name most of the credits on there. And I think there might have been a credit. I'll have to go back to IMDb because there's so many on there. But the one thing that I didn't notice the credit for was the one on the Just Say No episode. And but you answered that. That's because you just did a lot of different sessions. And but do you think it could have been because he did give a really big thank you on the Flintstones episode to Michael Jackson, even though all he provided was the rights to the beat track.
Right.
Yeah. And so I just didn't know if you were credited under a pseudonym as well, or if they just didn't put it in there.
Yeah, I don't know. All those things came such a flurry, and I was in the middle of doing lots of other sessions too, and jingles and people's albums and stuff. So I never, I don't follow up on that stuff to see, I didn't get a credit, or I don't know. It's just not that important to me. I mean, I suppose if I'm trying to build up some kind of legacy, I suppose I should have checked that kind of stuff. But I just like to do a good job and have a good time, and it's more about Michael Jackson than it is about me. So.
Well, it's definitely amazing, and you are very amazing. And I looked into like the work that you do as well for the arts in California. Like that's such a neat thing, and so I want to say thank you for doing that as well.
Oh yeah, definitely. You got to get back wherever you can.
Yeah. So I appreciate it, and I think that's all the questions that I have for you.
Yeah, if you have any other questions, whatever, just give me a holler. No big deal.
Awesome. I really do appreciate it. You've been one of the nicest people I've talked to, and I really do appreciate it.
Well, that's another thing that drives me crazy about showbiz. You have no idea how many times people have said that to me or to us as a band. And I think, what are these other people doing? What the hell kind of humility do they have that they are such jerks to people? Because all I'm doing is being polite and the way you're supposed to be, the way you're raised to be. Everyone's supposed to be nice. It's just a job like any other job. Oh, I do know one funny story. When Nancy and I were doing Happy Birthday, Lisa, it was on a different day. Mm-hmm. And so I had, back then, a little cassette player with me, so I could keep referring to Michael's cassette. So I got the licks right and everything. And Nancy's standing there with me, and we're just new friends because I hadn't met her before, even though I'd sung on a lot of episodes. And they're having some downtime. Back then, they'd have to change tapes and stuff. So we're just sort of sitting there killing time, and I realized, oh my God, I have a tape recorder. I have Michael Jackson. I have Bart Simpson sitting here. Maybe I'll ask her to do my outgoing phone message for my machine at home, right? So I asked her if she'd do it, and she's so nice. Of course. So at the time, I was living with guys that are in my band, so like my cousin and my friend. So she said, I can't do Bart, but she was saying, don't have a cow, man. If Kip and Scott and Mike are not home right now, leave a message, cowbunga, or whatever she said. So I took it home, I put it on my outgoing machine, and it was completely worthless because nobody believes that it was the real Bart. This is the last thing anyone, who would ever think the real Bart did your message? So they go oh yeah, Kip, that's pretty good. Listen, have to stop, give me a call or whatever. It was completely worthless. So I eventually just took it off, and I have it on a cassette somewhere. I have Michael Jackson singing that, and then her doing that. It's pretty funny.
That is amazing. I'm sure that cassette tape's probably worth a little bit of money right about now.
It probably is, and it's sitting in a box somewhere. I'm an idiot. Oh well. Anyway, all right. Well, nice to meet you, man. Nice
to meet you as well, and thank you very much again. I hope you have a good day.
Cool. You too. All right. See ya.
Such an awesome guy. Thanks again for listening to another episode of Moonwalk Talks. Please don't forget to rate and subscribe to Moonwalk Talks on iTunes or your favorite podcast app. And for those of you on YouTube, please click that subscribe button and give this episode a thumbs up. Please follow at Moonwalk Talks on Twitter and Instagram. And if you have any questions, comments, or show ideas for us, please send an email to jenkins@jenkins.net. It's always great hearing from you all. Once again, I have been your host, Jenkins, and don't forget, whatever happens, keep your head up, keep the faith, and don't forget to smile.